and good afternoon. Welcome to the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association's podcast, Restaurants of Hawaii. I am Sheryl Matsuoka, the President and CEO of the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association and the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Today, we are discussing connecting with our 2025 legislators and how to make a difference. So this episode is all about building strong relationships with our legislators. And as you all know, in January, we have a whole new legislative session opening. So this is the perfect time. And I really want to thank our guests. I'm going to start off with having each of our guests introduce themselves and share a little bit about themselves and if they have anything that they would like to say to the restaurants and food service industry. So may I start off with Councilman Tyler Dos Santos?
Well, thanks, Sheryl. I'm City Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos-Tam. I represent the area from Ward Avenue in Kaka'ako to Middle Street in Kalihi. So I have downtown and Chinatown and all the restaurants and services within that area. I've been on the City Council for 2 years. This term, I'm the Transportation Committee Chair and Executive Management Chair. In the next term, starting in January, we're going to have different committee assignments. But regardless of what committee I'm on or my colleagues are on, we want to be supportive partners. So I'm happy to speak with all of you today.
Thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, he gave us permission to call him Tyler. So I'm not being disrespectful, but Tyler supported, all of the initiatives. When anything happens downtown, Tyler, he knows that Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association is a resource for him. So thank you for all that you do, Tyler. All right, I'm going to go to Victor Lim, our government relations lead.
Hi there, everybody. Good afternoon. As you know, I'm Victor Lim. I'm an owner of a few McDonald's restaurants here in Honolulu. And I have been playing the role of the government relations lead for Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association for, I will say, at least the past 20 years. The other caveat I just want to mention is that yes, the Sheryl mentioned that the legislative session is coming up in January. However, laws are being passed at all different levels, at the city council level, at the state level, which is the legislature, and at the Congress. So all three branches, when they pass legislation, it affects how we do business. And we're very fortunate that, we have a dynamic council member, Tyler, who I know pretty well the past 2 years. And so, we're glad that he's joining us today to share some light. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. Tom Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with Victor and Tyler and Sheryl. I'm the co-owner of the Gyotaku Japanese restaurants. I've been living in Hawaii now for about 38 years. Came here from Japan after growing up on the East Coast. And specialize in Japanese food. I'm a chef. And I came on board with the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association board of directors back in the early mid-90s. And like Victor, I've served more than one term as chairman over the years. And as such, it's incumbent on us when we serve on the board of directors to get involved at the legislative level and represent the industry. So I've testified at city council meetings, at the state legislature, both at the House and Senate side, and I've even been to Washington, D.C. multiple times, as Victor pointed out, at the national level as well. I know firsthand, what it's like to communicate and connect with our legislators at all three of those levels, and I'm interested to talk about that today.
Thank you so much, Tom. And everyone, our members and our viewers, the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association really makes a big impact, right, Victor? We do make a big impact. Thanks to Victor, thanks to Tom, thanks to our Government Relations Committee. And we want to continue that relationship, which is what this whole episode is about, is how do we build a stronger relationship with our legislators? So the first question is, why is it important, Victor, to build that relationship with our legislators, especially in 2025?
Well, actually, I want to turn it over to Tyler. As a legislature, a council member, maybe you can share people that come when they hear about a bill that's being heard, and when they come and testify in front of you for the very first time or whatever it is, what's your take on somebody that you know versus somebody that you don't know, or people coming in cold turkey? So
Yeah,
why don't
I'll touch upon that. Sure. So first and foremost, I think all of us in government understand how important the restaurant industry is, not just for the economics of supporting small businesses, but the employment of so many people, from the dishwashers to the servers to, you know, the bartenders. This is all really important, obviously, not only in my district, but statewide. Part of the challenge that we have as government officials is we have to deal with every issue under the sun. Right before this, I was talking with people about permitting. Earlier this morning, I was talking about our parks. We get hit all day long with a whole ton of issues. And it's really important, I think, for the restaurant community to, from time to time, remind us, hey, we're here. Hey, we have these issues. And, you know, we really want to be a part in solving them. Because if we don't see people from the restaurant industry, all those other issues where we do see people constantly, those rise to the top. And so I want to make sure that the restaurant industry, your needs are being heard. That's not to say we won't hear you otherwise, but having, to Victor's point, having people that we know, having this constant dialogue really helps to keep it top of mind. So when there is an issue that comes up that even tangentially deals with the restaurant industry, we know, hey, maybe we should call Sheryl and check on how this would affect them, right? If it's something to deal with waste disposal, we might not immediately think of restaurants, but there's a whole lot of, you know, food waste and other things that as part of the equation, we should probably be thinking about that. Or crime in the neighborhood. I mean, you know, our restaurateurs are there from the beginning of the morning till late at night, and they see all the crime stuff. Like, maybe we should call and see how the restaurants in this neighborhood is going in relation to crime. So these are all important things for us to think about, but we're not going to think about them unless we get to know the restaurateurs in our district, they introduce themselves, and we have groups like the Restaurant Association speaking up.
And so the main thing is that, you know, as a legislature, and many times as you vote on yay or nay, you're passing judgment. And so if we are absent in providing you with the alternate point of view, you're going to be making decisions from a very one-sided position, right?
Yes. And I think that another thing that's really important is when controversial things do come up, we do our homework, right? We do look at the testimony. We have a staff who takes a lot of phone calls and tries to research and understand all the issues. So it's not just the volume of testimony. It's not just how many people come to testify, but it's also quality. For example, and we'll probably get to this a little bit later, but we have sidewalk dining, which has been really successful for the people who have had a chance to do the sidewalk dining. Having data about that, to be able to say this restaurant is now able to employ a whole new server outside and a whole new busboy for the outside area, that helps us to say this is real and we need to do it. If we didn't have that data, it would be a little bit theoretical, right? Similarly, sometimes we have issues where like 100 people show up to testify, but if they're all just kicking and screaming and all just, you know, sort of making nonsensical points, it doesn't matter if there's 100 of them. If there's 5 people making really, really, really solid points that are crystal clear and really click for us.
Yeah. So basically, and of course, it doesn't hurt that the person that's sitting across from you is somebody that you know to be credible,
Yes.
right? That's
hugely important, hugely important. And again, you don't need to, you know, a lot of your members are small business people. They probably don't think all that much about the government and the city council and state legislature all the time, but it is good to have that relationship. You don't need to know all the answers. You don't have to have all the facts. You don't even need to be good at public speaking or anything like that. But if we know who you are, you know, we know that you're credible, it does make a difference.
See, one of the challenges that we have as small business is that many of us do not have a big staff. We are owner operators. We are on premise. We are working. We are cooking. We are cleaning tables. And so many people felt that, you know, they do not have the time because, you know, you guys' meetings could drag on forever. Even though you're scheduled for 2 p.m., it could be 4 p.m. before you might take up an issue, and that makes it but very difficult for the small business people show up. But really, I just want to stress the point that you're saying, that so it's important for us to invest the time to show up, right?
Yes, and it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week or every month, but from time to time, check in, say hi. I was just in Chinatown today. There's some new shops that have opened. It's nice for them to flag me down on the street, say, hey, I just want to say hi. I just opened a shop here. Even that makes a difference. And when you come back a year later and come to testify before us, I'll say, oh yeah, I met that person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that both Tom and I have stressed to many of our membership is that, hey, when you see an elected official in your business, go up and say hello, because you guys are personable guys, right? And girls.
Try to be.
Oh, absolutely. I highly recommend that restaurateurs get to know their city, state, and even our national legislators. I see them in my restaurants quite a bit. I'm fortunate that many of them enjoy our food. Senator Inoue, when he was alive, was a regular at our place, and we have a lot of regulars come down. But you can always invite your legislator, or your representative local to come by the restaurant as well. And like Victor said, don't hesitate to approach the table and greet them when they're in. It really is important to develop a first name basis relationship with all of our legislators.
And let me also interject for a second. Oftentimes the only time that we hear from people is when there's a problem, when there's a crisis, when there's some controversial thing. And that's all fine and good. We want to hear from everyone. But one of the things that as an elected official I love to do, and I know my colleagues love to do, is the easy, happy, friendly stuff. So we give out certificates. If your restaurant has been open for a year, if your new location's been open for a year, 5 years, 10 years, if your head chef is retiring, if the hostess who's been there for 40 years, day in and day out, greeting people is retiring, let us know and we'll do a certificate and we will show up and make them feel like the most special person in the world.
That's a great idea.
And that makes a difference too, because we get to say, oh, we met, oh, Tom was there. We gave a certificate to, his chef who's retiring. Oh, wonderful. And then when Tom calls up and says, hey, by the way, blah, 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 like, well, we remember that. It does make a difference. So again, it's a two-way street, and even simple things like that help us to have that relationship.
Yeah, I also offer this a lot when I meet, city council members or even neighborhood board members as well. Even at that level, it's important. You all are always involved in community events. And so whether it's a park cleanup or painting a school or doing something, there's always something going on. And I would encourage you. I'm living in Nu'uanu, so I'm you're my representative at the local level here. But we have restaurants across the island, and we're happy to support any of these community events. So some bentos for the volunteers or whatever. We can also help you support community activities that are nonpartisan and benefit the entire community. We're always happy to do that as well. Gives us good exposure, and most all of us want to be recognized and be able to contribute in our community. So,
yeah,
another great opportunity.
I think so far this conversation is a proof to the pudding that your legislators are very reachable. I mean, you're not in a cloud somewhere that we lay people cannot talk to, but you're basically our representative working for us, with us, right? I mean, so my experience has been that almost everybody, almost all the legislators I've met, at every level, has been very approachable, about 95% of the time. But really, my experience has been very, very positive. And really, I think this is a test to the testimony that we are in this together, Let me go straight a little bit. We have a couple of things going on in the city council right now that that could affect the restaurant industry. Definitely, one of them have to do with the, of course, sidewalk dining. You help us put resolutions through the city council to make that available, which is a big plus for the community and the ambiance of the neighborhood. But you know, things like I think there's a bill going on that's gonna ban plastic water bottles or something like that that you guys heard for the first time last week, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, some of those things really have consequences, right? I mean, and so you know, on any position, there is good and bad, you know, and there's also what's practical and what's not practical. And so, you know, I'll be coming to see you about that.
Okay, good. And again, we may end up disagreeing on things, but it doesn't mean that we have to be disagreeable, because there's going to be some issue in the future where, you know, we're going to want to work together on. And oftentimes, through the legislative process, you know, things can be changed and modified. And if we don't hear from people, we don't know how to modify them in a way that makes sense or takes into account whatever situation we need to address.
Hey, I just want to repeat again what you just said. You know, we might disagree at times. We might not agree at all the time. But it's important that we have the dialogue and we have the relationship. Because on a separate issue, maybe a month down the line, 2 months down the line, you and I could be 100% in sync, you know, on a position, right? I mean, so I tell my restaurant people, restaurant owners, especially, you know, like typical business people, we are dealing with black and white every day. You know, you guys in the legislative process dealing with more of the gray area, and so many times, you know, the industry side, we get very frustrated and we say, oh yeah, you know, this is all screwed up. We disagree, and then get upset with each other and then forget about it. But that's not what the process is all about. That I think a lot of people forget. You know, like I said, I've been doing this for 20 plus years for the restaurant industry, locally as well as nationally. And so, you know, I take that philosophy to heart that, you know, the main thing is that I share with you guys the logic as to why we took the position we took. And then we get to also hear from you guys as to why you took the position you took, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get a happy medium, you know. But like I said, we might not get everything we want, but I know many bills get amended to address the fringe issues that maybe the original writer of the bill does not take into consideration. So, right, Tom? I mean, you and I have this discussion all the time. Tom, calm down.
Victor has my leash, so. But no, it's true, and you know, we have over the years on many issues at the city council level and also too at the state level, you know, been able to shape and amend or adjust the legislation, you know, legislative you know, bills and laws so that they've been a little more favorable to us or a little less onerous in some cases, and in some cases they've been outright really super helpful. So you know, it's interesting, and you know, you get to know people. You never know who is going to be, you know, in a position later on. I remember when I used to work with, you know, testify in front of Kirk Caldwell, and then, you know, he became the mayor, and so you know, even Governor Green, you know, back before he was a governor, we met many times and talked, and then the next thing you know, these people are in very important positions. So developing these relationships and maintaining them over the years is mission critical for us. I know when COVID hit, we had, you know, relationships at the governor level, at the executive level, and at the state legislative level. We had many meetings right out in front of the city hall, you know, talking about what we're doing with COVID as well. So when these, you know, crisis situations come up or new legislation comes around, you know, relationships that we developed, you know, two months or, you know, 20 years ago can be very important, and trust and you know, recognition, I think is key to a really good relationship.
I want to make a little point also. It's you know, you don't need all of the solutions. You don't need to have the idea fully fleshed out. If you want to communicate with us, sometimes it's as simple as saying, you know, we're running into this issue or we're observing this. I'm not quite sure what you as our government official can do about it, but I just want to make you aware and see if other people are experiencing it. Even that is really powerful for us. So you don't need to come and say, I want you to pass a bill that does X, Y, and Z. It's just, hey, you know, we have this problem, or hey, you know, there's a homeless person who sleeps outside. Is there something we can do? And we'll try to find the answer.
Good.
Very nice.
And yeah, and the other thing I just want to emphasize on what Tom just said, because you know, right now Tyler, this is his first go around, you know, as a city council member. You know, he's young, he's smart, he's energetic. Who knows where he's gonna be tomorrow? You know, I mean, you know.
This is true.
You know, and that's all the possibilities. If you look around, you know, I mean, whether the elected officials locally or nationally, we have people that you never thought that they were going to be in a position today, 5, 10 years ago, you know, and having that relationship, knowing each other, and you know, the fact that there is a trust factor in your dialogue, that's so important. You know that I think you know, going back to what I said again earlier on, right? I mean, if you don't know me and I'm testifying with you on the first time, yeah, you're listening to me, okay. But if you do know me and I'm saying something, I think you definitely will take note of to what I said, right? So you know, I mean, so this is human nature, and I think this relationship, this dialogue, this communication with each other, I mean, it's what makes our legislative process work.
Mhm. So true.
So true. So before we close the show, can we just go around and have last statements, especially if it's around 2025? If there's anything that we want to mention now, Victor, Tyler, Tom, about 2025 and some of the things that we're maybe concerned about, or maybe some issues that may pop up. And then we'll go around once and then I'll close the show if that's okay. So this is your last call. So I'm going to start off with Tyler.
Sure, yeah, 2025. Here at the city, sidewalk dining is something we're going to be taking up in the first quarter of the year. If you are a sidewalk dining restaurateur already, you know, we'd love to hear from you. But if you're also somebody who's thought about it, and maybe there's issues that we can make it easier, or barriers that have come up in the past, you know, we want to know about those. On the city side, you know, we deal with the nuts and bolts things. So certainly homelessness, crime, I mean, all the neighborhood issues that affect whether businesses succeed or not. We also want to help to tackle those. My counterparts at the state legislature, they're getting ready to start in January. Now is actually the time for them to start drafting up bills so they can get them introduced. So if you have ideas or concerns, again, it doesn't have to be fully fleshed out. It's simply, hey, we're dealing with this. Can you think of a way to help, or is anyone else dealing with it? That's also really helpful for my counterparts over there. But I really, again, invite any of your members to come approach me or my colleagues and let us know what's going on and see how we can help.
And Tyler, I really feel this is a very important year. We have very, I guess, newer, do I say newer? Is that a new legislators that we really need to reach out to them, because maybe they don't know, you know, that we're a resource and that we need to, you know, like you said, get together and come to mutually agreeable, right, legislators. So because there's so many newer, is that a word, newer?
Yeah.
What is your suggestion, right? Reach out to them.
Just reach out. Their office numbers are online. Their cell phone numbers are probably floating around online too. Shoot them a text, just say hi, or find them on social media. You know, people will reach out on Instagram and say, oh, it's nice to meet you. That's also really great way.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Victor, any closing statements about 20?
Like I said, I found Tyler to be very reachable. In fact, actually, I'm going to be meeting him over the next 7-10 days, you know, to talk about not just
something totally different,
issues, but our community issues.
Yeah.
You know, because we are part of the this downtown Chinatown community, and there's some issues that we're having that we want Tyler to help the city put an eye on it. And so it's okay to also call and say, hey, can we meet? I mean, please, give us some time so that we can do that. And the fact that it doesn't hurt that Tyler, because when I call, when I say Victor Lim, his office knows who I am, right? I mean, so that's a part of what I say, having that personal relationship. Don't have to be drinking buddies, but the fact is that you are a colleague in the business community, in a community at large. It's doable. You'd be surprised. And that goes to also the state legislatures. If you need to do something, make an appointment, something, outside of, sometimes if you just talk to each other just in the testimony stage, it's very cold and it's very abrupt, and you really do not have a chance to dialogue. And that's why on the bigger issue, dialoguing is very important. So, Tom?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think more than any other industry, the restaurant industry, the food service industry has had been significantly impacted by COVID and the post-COVID economy. And so we're struggling with staffing because there's employee shortages nationwide. We have that issue to deal with. Young people aren't seeking jobs in the industry anymore like they used to. We have increasing insurance costs because of the global insurance thing. We all have properties and restaurants and facilities that we need to maintain. We have sewer bills and water bills, which we're looking at those costs going up. We have energy costs going up. We have mandatory recycling and composting things and all that stuff going on. Minimum wage. We are faced with a plethora of legislated challenges and things that occur naturally in the economy that we have to deal with. And so in order for us to survive and make sure that our legislators are aware of what's going on, these relationships that we can forge are just super important. We need to let our legislators know how their legislation impacts our business at a real level so that they can understand how they can help us to continue to be the cornerstone of the economy as we have been for so many years. So, get out there and contact your council members, contact your representatives and state senators, and also to get to know the folks up on Capitol Hill, because it's important.
Thank you. And again, Tyler, we just really want to thank you for jumping on this podcast with us. As Tyler knows, when he contacts us about sidewalk dining, whether it's Narcan, the distribution of Narcan, getting the education out to the restaurants and bars, or it is the Chinatown, where Tyler and I walked Chinatown that Saturday after the power outage. Tyler knows that we are a resource. So Tyler, thank you for all that. Thank you for all that you do for the food service and restaurant industry. So again, everyone, we are the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association, the organization unifying, representing, and supporting Hawaii's restaurant and food service industry. Again, my name is Sheryl Matsuoka, the president and CEO of the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association and the Hawaiʻi Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. And our closing words is, please remember to nourish connections, savor life, eat well, and live well. Until our next podcast, thank you so much for joining us.
Mahalo.
We hope.